Welcome to the Sunriver Anglers Fly Tying Corner, where each month we bring you a new fly pattern to give a try to on our Central Oregon lakes and rivers. In addition to showing you how to tie each pattern, I'll feature fishing technique tips and tricks, and I'll cover some of the entomology behind each pattern to help gain a better understanding of the bugs that we're trying to imitate. I have field tested each of the patterns that I feature each month to make sure that they catch fish. I'll cover tying instructions for the fly as well as materials to help you be able to recreate these patterns on your own vise. Today we're going to tie a Quill Gordon. This is a classic Catskills pattern that was designed by Theodore Gordon in the early 1900s or late 1800s, and it has stood the test of time. It's been around for a long time and it's still a very popular pattern. So follow along for this month's Fly Tying Corner and let's tie a Quill Gordon. Let's review the materials for this pattern. As I tie the fly, I'll cover each material in a little greater detail so you understand why we chose each. So let's get started on this pattern. I'm going to begin with a hook and my thread. For a hook, I'm using a Firehole 419 in size 14. This is a competition dry fly hook, barbless, that I like a lot for this pattern. For the thread, I'm using a Danville's flat wax 6/0 in tobacco brown. You can vary the color really to anything you prefer, but I like this tobacco brown color and I use it a lot. So I'm going to begin by tying my thread on right at the 2/3 point of the hook. I'm always thinking proportions for a dry fly, and this is right where I want the wing to lay. So that's where I'm going to start my thread. For the wing, I'm going to use natural lemon wood duck. This is a flank feather off a wood duck drake. In the picture, you'll see both the black and white barred feathers, but also the lemon feathers right on top. And it's the just pure lemon feathers that I'm using for this wing. Now to tie in this wing, I'm going to use a rolled feather technique. What I'm doing is I'm trying to equalize all the tips on this wood duck feather by pulling them forward very tightly. And then once I've got that firmly in my thumb and forefinger, I'm going to go ahead and mount that on the hook using a traditional wing style. Then I'll reach in with my scissors and angle those scissors parallel with the hook and clip off the excess. So next I'm going to tie over the butts and form the beginnings of a nice tapered body. For the tail, I'm using a whiting Coq de Leon saddle in natural Pardo. The benefit of Coq de Leon is the barbs are very, very stiff and they make an excellent tailing material. So I've selected out a sparse tail and I'm going to measure that at about 2.5 times the gape of the hook and tie that on right at the beginning of that taper and wind that back to the tail set position, and I'll tie a couple of wraps underneath that tail to prop it upright. So next let me move back to my wing and I'm going to tie some wraps very tightly in front of the wing to go ahead and prop that or elevate that wing to 90 degrees from the hook shank. And then I'll take my scissors and reach in and split that wing into two, and I'll figure eight the wing with a couple wraps through either side. And then I'll go ahead and post each wing, and so you can go ahead and gather those wing fibers together to create nice, neat wings. These post wraps are done with very soft thread tension. Otherwise, that thread will just slip off, and I'm tying it directly at the base of the wing. So let me rotate my vise so you can see the wings on this hook. For the abdomen, I'm using a Polish quill. This is a stripped quill off a peacock eye feather, a peacock tail feather. And we strip it with a pencil eraser, or you can buy this packaged from Polish quills. This particular one I'm using is in natural. So I've selected one of my quills, and I'm going to tie it on right at the beginning of that taper and tie it all the way back to the tail set position. And this material is pretty delicate and fragile, and so I'm going to go ahead and use some super glue underneath, and I'm going to tie it into a bed of super glue to add some strength and resiliency to that abdomen. So once I've done that, I'll wrap my quill forward and ultimately tie it off right behind the wing. My camera focuses pretty tightly on this fly, and you can see in my quill wraps I left just a little red peeking out. That won't hurt things. That red will help imitate life. And lastly, for the Heckle, I'm using a whiting dry fly saddle. This is a pro grade, and it's unique variant. It has colors in it ranging from tans to a medium dun, and I've selected for this pattern the medium dun in a natural. So I've selected my feather and sized it to a size 14 hook. And I stripped off the underside of the all of the barbs off the rachis, or the quill. By doing so, I can tie a little bit neater hackle. It takes a few more winds on this pattern, but it comes out to be a very neat, very tight hackle on this fly. I used just a little bit of super glue under that thorax area just to provide some strength to the hackle. And I'll wind it forward, always at 90 degrees to the hook shank, and one wrap in front of the next, in front of the next, in a very tight sequence. You can see the number of hackle wraps I'm putting on this to develop a real nice, crisp hackle. So I'll clip off the excess, tie a couple more wraps over the butts, and then I'll drop right into a whip finish. If I've got any stray barbs, this is a good time to clip them out. For a final step on this pattern, I'm going to coat the abdomen with a little UV resin, and I'm going to coat the head with a little UV resin just to give it a nice crisp look, and we'll cure that with our UV light. So that has been your Sunriver Anglers Fly Tying Corner for this month. I hope you'll give the Quill Gordon a try. It's been around for a long time, and it is a classic Catskill Dry Fly pattern. Thanks for watching.